Hello, welcome back to your new favorite Hunter x Hunter channel. Today, well, you saw the title, we're talking about the importance of Prince Tyson and how she relates to and caused Morena. And you might be asking yourself, what does the chronically heterosexual, love preacher Tyson have to do with the nihilistic lesbian that is Morena? And that's a stupid fucking question because I'm answering it in the video. Wait just a goddamn second. All right? Because the first thing I want to talk about is, what we've seen of Tyson so far and how she contrasts pretty heavily with most of the other princes. Because, of the 14 starting princes, we're already down a couple. But, there's about a handful, like 4 or 5, that you could comfortably say that we know very little about, right? Dwazil's children all fall into this category. But one thing that in my mind, separates Dwazil's children from Tyson is that all of these guys have some pretty intriguing threads to kind of pull at, right? I mean, Lucerys is a mafia benefactor. That's already something to look into on itself. And also, we've always been getting these kind of hints that maybe he knows more than he's letting on. Maybe this aloof, druggy personality is, a bit of a ruse. And to Beppa, the idea of a collaborative Nen piece is already intriguing as all hell. And her guards are really competent. And we even have that Longy contract kind of hanging there, right? Like, that's all, pretty interesting stuff. And Camilla is also really interesting. I mean, who knows how smart she is? She went in guns blazing on like day 2, but her entire guard being have-nots is really, really interesting. And you know, much to my annoyance sometimes, whenever somebody is accused of being manipulated, uh, Camilla's name always comes up, and that's kind of to my point because these guys, people want something to happen with them. People for years now have been poking at them to see what they do. But nobody's been poking Tyson. And that's what I'm here to do because I think Tyson legitimately is probably going to be like one of the last 5 remaining princes alive. I think Tyson is going to be integral to the Black Whale going forward. And let's talk about that. So, to start off with, Tyson is an only child. Well, only biological child. They only have half siblings. They're the first and only daughter of 4th Queen Catrono. And we have no reason to really believe that her father isn't Nasubi. I highly doubt that there's anything there. Um, the bigger thing I want to talk about here is that Tyson isn't actually her real name, or at the very least, is not what we should be calling her. Let me get her nice little face over there. Tyson isn't the prince's actual name, as we know. If you translate the Carne directly, Tyson, it makes sense. That is a good working translation. But it's an incorrect romanization because Togashi has blessed us with on the Tython canon with Tython. I'm one of those people that Togashi's romanizations are law unless they're unhinged like this, in which case we'll kind of cast them aside, right? But Tython, it makes a lot of sense. Also, the S for in Tyson wouldn't be able to have been. You can't like show that strictly with kana, which are what syllabic, phonetic. These are just sounds, and Japanese does not have a th consonant, so you can't get that, right? But the importance here is the tithe part, because through a lot of my own research, I've discovered that pretty much every single prince's name, and even the queens and the royal family, and pretty much every goddamn character in this arc, their name has a meaning, right? And Tython is no different. The naming inspiration with Tython is tithe. It's a historical religious tax that would, go towards religious, charitable purposes. Tithe, like etymologically, it was a tenth of profits or a tenth of value. But I don't believe that is like specifically very pertinent for this arc. I think this is more just sort of invoking the idea of religious taxation, which, looking at her guarding spirit beasts, makes a whole hell of a lot of sense. So, goodbye, little one. We're gonna bring this guy up. Let me squeeze that panel out so we get some more room. So, this is the only page that we really get talking about Tyson's beasts. These are exposition panels. So this is law. This is the narrator telling us this is all true stuff. And what we learn here is that it is a emitter diffusive levy type. And let's break that down really quick. Levy here is the imposition and collection of some sort of tax or fee. And diffusive here means that the tax collection is widespread, which makes sense because the main thing that the beast does is, do I get a good panel of it? I didn't get a good panel of it. How terrible. Do I have one down here? I'm sorry. Here we go. That's because, you know, her main thing is that this guy spawns these guys, these lovely little eyewogs. And those are the ones that are doing stuff. So in this case, the taxation is Nen aura, right? Giuliano actually binks this pretty early on with his sort of spirit bomb idea. We get that the Eyewogs collect aura from their hosts in exchange for happiness. The degree of happiness depends on how thoroughly they've read the Book of Tyson. However, breaking the soul taboo brings about severe punishment. And we'll get to that taboo in a second. But, you know, this is kind of all we get for now. And as we sort of see through, God, what's his name? Izunavi, we learn more about, you know, the mechanics of the Tyson canon. The more and more Giuliano here reads it, the more and more he gets pretty into it. He gets pretty enraptured by it, to the point where, you know, he kind of says that it feels like, you know, parting words, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting, you know, pretty into it. But as we later see, like, he seems different, but he's just a happy little guy. He's just a happy little man. Good for him, man. Look at that face. He's lovely. And Izunavi picks up on this pretty quick, right? The more he got into the book, the more into Tyson and the more happy he became. And Izunavi is, you know, proposes to Tyson, like, hey, did you give this to your dad? Like, maybe this will, like, end the war. Maybe we could do something here. And Tyson takes that very well, and we get a very, very cute pic of Tyson here where she doesn't, yeah, I'm just gonna put that away. She doesn't look like that. I think this is like literally the last like spoken appearance that we get of her. It's in like chapter 400. But that's kind of where that part of the aura tax ends. We get into sort of the idea of this taboo, right? And we don't know what the taboo is really, or what the punishment of it would be. He says, we know it's like severe, right? Oh, it's literally right here. Giuliano's idea of a spirit bomb like might not be too entirely off, because if the GSB, the Guardian Spirit Beast here, is like a storage vessel of aura that the Eyewogs take in as tax, right? It makes sense that the punishment that is delivered is, you know, it uses this bank of aura that the beast contains, right? We don't know, like, if the punishment is static, or maybe, like, if the taboo is something that is, like, a spectrum of severity, like, if it's don't hurt people, that's, you know, there's a pretty broad spectrum of, like, playfully punching somebody and then murdering somebody. And maybe that, like, affects the severity of the beast. We don't know. That is all way too heavily speculatory. The only thing that I want to talk about is how I think this sort of fits into the arc and is a larger idea within the arc. One thing that has been teased a couple times is this sort of rising unrest within the Black Whale, right? Messiah's Tome has, I believe, chapter 800, like pretty much that entire chapter, the first 3/4 of it, is just him sort of going over with the local agencies that shit is not going well. There's rampant crime, rampant misinformation. People are dying. They don't have any doctors, right? Things are falling apart. And Mesiostome lies quite a bit to, very, like, try and diffuse what he can to extend whatever fuse he has before the ship completely breaks out into riots and chaos, which would be bad. That would be very, very bad. But where I think Tyson could play into this is that her beast gives happiness, right? If you read the book, if you receive the book, who knows, like, how, if you have to receive it from her personally, I bet not. But if you read the book, you get happy, right? When the tears degenerate into chaos, people are gonna need hope. People are gonna need happiness. And with this whole arc being themed around the structures of society and how humans, like, live within them, religion is a very pertinent idea to have present in the arc. And Tython fits that very, very well. And as well, like, the more people she gets within her religion, the more people that get enraptured by it, the more aura whatever the Guardian Spirit Beast can use to dish out punishment. We could get to the point where the longer her books circulate on the lower floors, the longer it can absorb aura for more people. It is a scaling problem. And eventually, this could have the most amount of aura of anything that we've seen in the series thus far. Because the Eyewogs, they siphon a pretty negligible amount of aura. But scale that to tens of thousands of people over the course of days or weeks, yeah, that'd be an insane amount. And the enforcement of happiness, if it's like a don't harm rule as the punishment, that could maybe not be great, all things considered, but at least stops people from killing each other, which is great for about every single party aboard the Black Whale. Except for one. And that brings us to Morena. So, Morena, we know, she's the head of the Hei-Ly, and her goal is to just farm XP on the Black Whale until it goes boom boom, and then she leaves and uses her honed force of users with contagion to just destroy the entire world. And that's great. Good for you, Morena. It's great to have goals. And to sort of talk about the link between Morena and Tyson, I gotta go back a bit. And specifically, we gotta go to some things about Kakine, some of the darkness that it holds within. And we're gonna talk about the Carne Levares, which is one of the things that Morena teaches us, Christ's sakes, about in 408. This is the thing where a carnival of flesh is held. The royal family goes to some random town, and they have some entertainment, some fun, some wholesome fun for the whole royal family. And if somebody becomes an entertainer in this festival, they are, stuff happens to them sexually speaking. It's not great. And if they have a child, well, they are put into a institution that is also run by the Hei-Ly, where they are sorted into either second track fakers, which would be the track for, like, the mafia leaders like Anyor and Bracco, or their flesh. Morena was flesh, and she doesn't get into specifics, but we can guess what happened. The interesting thing here, though, is that it is the timing of the Carne Levares. We know that Morena was born on the Kakine calendar in 98, which means that she was born 78 in the major calendar that we use. It is currently August something in 2001. I believe it's August 20th because we're on day 12 and it started on the 8th. And so Morena is like 22 or 23. And she says something really interesting here. The Carne Levares are held irregularly. They are not, there's no pattern that based on time. But she says that over the 20 years that she's been alive before she became the boss, there were 7 total batches of carnival children. And we learned something else more because the most recent batch of these orphans, of these carnival children, was year 20, last year's, which means that the last carnival was held 2 years ago. She says after the democratization commemoration celebration, but we don't care about that. all we really care about. Let me get a good. Where's a good Morena photo? We need something more sinister. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. Um, we like this Carne Levare idea is interesting, and I tried thinking about it more because what linkage is there between the royal family holding this irregularly and that there have been 7 within the past 20 years, with the last one being held 2 years ago? And I think the answer is relatively simple. A Carne Levare occurs whenever a prince is born, a legal heir to the throne. That would be, any of these folks like Benjamin, Tyson, Nick, etc. Um, what do we have here? Yeah, it's very likely. And if this idea is true, that would mean Mariam would have been the last the last kid that had a carnival that would have been held 2 years ago, which means Mariam would be close to 3. Which, do I have a picture of Mariam? It's more Momose, but yeah, he's a toddler. 3. That sounds perfect. That lines up perfectly. I'm very happy with that. And we know like Wobel was born recently, which means that she should have had a Carne Levare, but maybe because Kaki was preparing the voyage, she didn't get one, or maybe because Morena was outside of the orphanage, like she had left and become the Hei-Ly boss, she didn't get them, or maybe since the Carne Levare was held so recently that no carnival orphans have been born from it yet. But that's kind of besides the point. Taking this sort of Carne Levare measuring stick ruler, we can work our way backwards a bit and also get some of the ages of other princes, right? 13, Mariam, minus the 7 Carne Levare since Morena's birth, gets us Tyson. Oh, a little hint there for you guys. Morena was born as a consequence to Tyson, right? Morena was born in the wake of the celebration of Tyson's birth. She is linked to Tyson. And this would also put Tyson at about 24, which tracks. That's a 24-year-old. That's not even a picture of her. I don't know why I clicked on that. We can also, get some other ages of princes. Luzurius would probably be about 21 to 23, Sale about 20 to 22, Hulkenberg, probably 19 to 20-ish. With Hulkenberg also needing the additional stipulation of being like far enough away from Luzurius's birth that it is feasible that Dwazel, Jesus, gave birth to them both. And then, 10 onwards, like they're teenagers to children. Who cares about their exact age? But I love this idea that Tyson is the indirect cause of Morena's birth, right? Tyson preaches love. She's a sugar plum prince, right? And her religion as well just preaches happiness. It preaches, care for people. And that's just so opposite to what Morena wants. Morena seeks destruction. She wants to cause chaos on the Black Whale. And if Tyson's beast makes it so that that chaos doesn't break out, well, we got some natural enemies going on, right? And, further, just the dichotomy of relationship here is something that just feels so very Togashi to do. Juxtaposition of characters being put together has been a very recurring theme throughout the entire story, right? Gon and Killua start out on very opposite sides of innocent kid and innocent kid willing to fucking murder people. We also get, later on with Komugi, this defenseless blind girl being with the king Chimera Ant, the strongest living thing on, the Earth, or I guess the inland of Earth. We don't know about the Dark Continent yet. But Togashi loves pairing characters together that don't have a lot of business being together, or have some sort of juxtaposition of character that makes their interactions at a very base level enjoyable to look at. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen here. I think there's so much room to set things up here that will be fun to watch. But, while we're talking here about the Carne Levares and Kakin's Darkness, I'm gonna give you guys a little extra bit, little extra tidbit, little extra sauce on top, some dessert maybe. And that is about the Kakin, Meteor City, and the RG Foundation. This is from chapter, what is this, 359, I believe. This is like Kacho, she leaves Fugetsu. This is like they're leaving the banquet. And we get this. I love these guys' faces. They're awesome. And Kacho says, tell Daddy to get rid of that old fart from the RG Foundation. He looks at me with those gross, lecherous eyes. Yuck! It's not what she says. And this is the first time that we hear about this RG Foundation. That's like, what does that mean? It's an acronym that we've never seen in English. But one thing that I found out is that this acronym, RG, is the same in English and Japanese. So, if you look at the Japanese text, RG, is there something that could, be an acronym for that? Or could that be an acronym for something? And the answer is yeah, for sure. The Meteor City in Japanese is Ryusegai. Ryusegai? I don't know. Something like that. Which is, RG. Very simple. Meteor City is a translated name of Ryusegai. But the RG acronym didn't translate over, which isn't Lillian Olson's fault, the translator. I mean, all she got was RG Foundation, which how is she to have remembered that Meteor City is, English and Ryusegai is the Japanese version? It doesn't matter. But what does matter is that this should be MC Foundation, Meteor City Foundation. That is what it is evoking. And this is important because this, brings together quite a few loose ends very satisfyingly. We know that the Hei-Ly has ties to human trafficking operations within Kakin. That's given to us here as the Carnival orphans are sent to an institution that is the base of operations for the human trafficking organization run by the Hei-Ly. And what the fuck? Oh, I need to scroll down. So we know that the Hei-Ly traffics people, and maybe that has something to do with the MC Foundation. We don't know yet though. But spoiler alert, we do. This is from chapter 406, and we get this, very innocent news broadcast. We see it's been 10 years since the brutal murder of Mr. Risnorth, the chairman of Mom's Help, the charity foundation dedicated to helping children. No suspects have been caught. Today, we look back at his contributions and pay our respects to his greatness. There's been a growing public outcry demanding the identification and arrest of his murderer. We also, Kurlo hears this, and we get this very intensely drawn picture of his jacket, which means that he's thinking about something. Kurlo, whenever he is emotionally distraught, which has been this entire arc, he gets drawn with these very expressive lines. So, maybe he had something to do with this. But we also get some background speech bubbles here, where people are like, didn't they report that the credit was claimed and then walk it back in a weird way? People are laughing about the death of a philanthropist. Maybe it's the bad guys. Maybe it's bad if the guy who did it gets caught. Dark web stuff. There's some ideas going around. But what if I were to tell you that Mr. Risnorth here, this is not the first time we've seen this man, as in 395 and 6, we get a closer look at him, specifically when he's kidnapping children from Meteor City. This is the end of the first chapter of the Phantom Troop flashback, and we see a little mole, and we got a little wart on the nose bridge, and we also get this tattoo guy, which, fun fact, is presumably the same tattoo guy that Serenik hired, because in 394, Serenik's friend faction talk about how Serenik, the tattoo guy, used to work, that the tattoo guy that tattooed Serenik's friends, that Serenik hired, also used to work for the Hei-Ly. So this is presumably the same guy. And we get a closer look in 396 of his side profile. We see that same distinctive mole, that same distinctive wart, and would you look at that? That is the same goddamn same guy. So from this, we can gather that this philanthropist went to Meteor City and was trafficking children through it, right? Krollo probably had something to do with his death, most likely, and that this sort of Meteor City Foundation thing is a somewhat of a known secret to at least the royal family, because Kacho knows that the MC Foundation is gross. There are gross things going on here. This guy keeps looking at her with lecherous eyes. And I'm excited to learn more about this. This is starting to work to tie together Crollo, Morena's, and Karapika's plot lines. They're all very thematically interlinked, but this is, starting to get some actual textual plot links in them, which is nice. But I believe that does it for this video. This is a bit more of a stretched video of various different topics, but I got a lot of backlog stuff to work through, and I like to put as much stuff together that, fits. So that does it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things that make the numbers go up on my end. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all of the feedback and enjoyment on the last few videos. It's really, really cool, if I'm being honest, that my yapping makes people happy. That's fun. I will probably pretty soon finish up my Kasha Fugetsu video, so you have that to look forward to. And also, I don't really have anything to say about Chapter 414 that hasn't been said by other people better than I could. Watch Extra Otter's video about it. You're probably watching him already. I shouldn't need to say that. But I think that's it. I hope you guys have a good day, and goodbye.